put yourself on mute. Well, we can't hear you anyway, but for the speakers, put yourself on mute, and we'll go ahead and begin in about 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you. Hi, this is the Resolve Walk of Hope webinar. We're going to get started in about 1 more minute. We have a lot of people who have registered, and we've got about a third of the people on so far. So we're going to wait another minute and see if we can get more of our registrants on the webinar. So thanks for bearing with us. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. This is Barb Calora, and I'm with Resolve, and we are so pleased to have you join us this evening for our Walk of Hope Volunteer Interest webinar. We are so excited to share with you some news about the Walks of Hope and to give you some more in-depth information about our walks and our plans for the Walks of Hope in 2015, and most importantly, for how you can get involved. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to the rest of the Resolve team that's on this call. We will be taking questions, and if we could go ahead and advance the slide, you'll see some information. If you get disconnected from the webinar, you can go ahead and just link back in from the link that was sent in the email. If you're really having problems, there is a GoToWebinar phone number that you might want to write down, 800-263-6317. That is not a call to Resolve. That is a call to the GoToWebinar software if you're really having problems. But we are recording this, so if for some reason you really get disconnected and cannot call back in, we will have this recorded and you can listen to the recording. Everyone on the call except for the speakers are going to be muted during the presentation. On your screen, you're going to see a chat box. It is down in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and you can type in questions, and we'll be looking at those questions throughout the presentation. And then at the end, we do have a few minutes set aside to answer any of the questions that may have come through. There is a feature you might see with a little raised hand. If you don't see that, that's fine. But if you do see that, do not use that feature. We are not using that feature tonight. Instead, we're using the chat feature for you to ask your questions. All right. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. If you want to advance the slide.
Yes.
And turn it over to the staff. And I'm not sure who's talking next, if it's Betsy or Chris, but go right ahead and introduce yourself. That would be great. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Barb. This is Chris. I would like to go through the agenda for this evening. I, too, want to thank you all for joining us. It's been very exciting to see how many people were interested in joining us this evening. So to start us off, let's just go through the agenda quickly. We're going to talk about today what is the Walk of Hope, how does the Walk of Hope help the infertility community, current locations, new locations, what do current Walk of Hope chairs have to say about their experience, how can you help, and Walk of Hope committee positions. There's another photo of our lovely Barb with one of our chairs, Becky Shaw and her husband for the DC Walk of Hope. So I have some feedback.
Chris, okay? if you're on a speakerphone, I would get off a speaker.
Alrighty. Yep. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Alrighty. Well, let's get started and talk about what is, I'm sorry.
If everyone else could please mute yourself. We're on a speaker somewhere, so please go ahead and mute yourself. That would be great.
That's much better.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. All right, let's talk about what is the Walk of Hope. The Walk of Hope is Resolve's signature fundraising and awareness community event that celebrates the many ways in which families are built. The Walk of Hope is one morning, just one typical morning. It's a typical walk day that begins with registration beginning around 9, followed by opening ceremonies, speakers, presentation of awards, and the walking beginning around 10. Activities usually conclude around 12 p.m. The Walk of Hope is 1 mile. 1 mile, we've designed the walk to be 1 mile and to keep it family friendly for everyone to be able to walk the course, including adults, children, and even dogs. Our walks are pet friendly, which does make us a little unique. As you know, our pets are a huge part of our family, and especially when we are building our own families. The Walk of Hope is one community coming together to support one another in the family building journeys. Families, friends, clinics, physicians, adoption, surrogacy, donors, any and all family building professionals. Now that we know what the Walk of Hope is, I would like to introduce Betsy Campbell, Resolve's Senior Manager of Constituent Services, so she can tell you more about how the Walk of Hope helps the infertility community. Betsy?
Thanks, Chris. More than 2,600 people have participated in our Walks of Hope this past year, but that is really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the public awareness that's raised. Our walks garner media attention in the communities where they are held, reaching hundreds of thousands of people in those communities. And with social media, it's the gift that keeps on giving as people share their personal involvement with the walks on their social networks. Our local sponsors do the same by promoting the walks in their waiting rooms, on Facebook and email, and sometimes through radio ads. Our walks are also held in public places with yard signs and banners along the walk route, educating not only our walkers but anyone who happens to be in these public places. 40 years ago when Resolve was founded, and even 10 years ago, we would never have imagined that people would want to come together in a public place and proclaim their infertility by wearing t-shirts they've made. And the t-shirts are one of the most fun aspects of the walk and help create a wonderful sense of community. As Chris said, each walk brings together hundreds of people of all ages, including those diagnosed with infertility and the people and organizations that support them. It really feels like one big support group where those diagnosed with infertility connect with others, supported by their friends and family, and derive hope from those who have successfully built their families. In addition to raising hope, our walks raise funds that help bring critical support services to local communities and help Resolve continue to increase and protect access to all family building options. The best example of this is what happened after our first Walk of Hope in Houston, Texas. Before the walk, there were no Resolve support groups in Houston, absolutely zero. Now there are 3 support groups in Houston and a total of 11 support groups throughout the state of Texas versus a total of 6 before the walk. So the funds raised help ensure that no one has to walk alone on their infertility journey, that people find Resolve and the support and access they need to build their families. Because as the t-shirt pictured above in the left-hand side of your screen says, silence is not an option. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Chris.
Thank you, Betsy. Well, we now know what the Walk of Hope is and how it helps our community. But the question, I'm sure, that is on all of your minds tonight is, where are the new locations going to be? Before I announce the specific locations, I want to let you know that just because you don't live in the same city as the walk location in your state, you can still be involved. Committees are spread out areas and communicate through emails and conference calls. And we are also creating additional ways that you can bring a Walk of Hope to your community, but that'll be another webinar. So without further ado, the 2015 Walk of Hope locations. Here's a map of our current locations in Teal, Scottsdale, Arizona, Northern and Southern California, Houston, Texas, and Washington, D.C. And our possible new locations, selected locations, in orange, and they are Denver, Colorado, Tampa, Florida, Chicago, Illinois, and the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area. I say possibly because that's where I need your help. In these new locations, we can't do this alone. We need volunteers like you to help facilitate our walks from the local community. Our best walks are so successful because our volunteers who have self-selected to lead our walks. Let me introduce you to our Houston, Texas Walk of Hope Chair, Angela Nassar. Angela, can you tell us about how you got started with the Walk of Hope and what it's been like volunteering for Resolve, and what bringing the Walk of Hope means, Walk of Hope to your community meant to you?
Absolutely, Chris, and thank you so much for having me. Being involved in chairing a Resolve Walk of Hope has really been a source of light for me in an otherwise pretty dark place as I try to find my way through infertility. Here in Texas, we had little to no support, and the Walk of Hope changed all that. It's amazing really to see how at the beginning, just a handful of people who didn't know each other and a few conference calls with Resolve later quickly started a new walk. It went literally from not knowing if it would succeed in my hometown to giving me some amazing new friends who understood what I was going through and working together to create one of the largest Walk of Hope events in the nation. I think when it's all said and done, the Walk of Hope is a powerful tool, and in bringing together a community, it can do it very quickly. And through my experience with infertility, nothing is ever really done quickly. So seeing this come to life here was a breath of fresh air. You know, everybody's time is precious, and as a volunteer, I deliberately choose to dedicate my time to this worthy cause. I would like to end by just encouraging everyone attending this webinar tonight to not only sign up and become a Walk of Hope volunteer, but to find something that you want to contribute to the walk and make a difference. I can tell you that if I can share a walk of hope and feel successful at it, I know that every single one of you can too. So thank you so much for having me tonight.
Oh, thank you, Angelica. That was awesome. I agree with your powerful tool. I believe that your statement of making the Walk of Hope a powerful tool and using it to bring your community together is perfect, which leads into the additional opportunities that we have available on our, how you can get involved with our Walk of Hope. How can you get involved with our the Walk of Hope? You can volunteer. You can volunteer to be on our walk committee. And what does it take to be a volunteer? Passion for a cause, a little time, and desire to help others. Here you see a list of our walk committee positions: community outreach, team development, marketing PR, team engagement, logistics, and advocacy. And of those positions, leading them, you would have a chair and a vice chair. Each position is for at least 2 or more people. The expression, many hands make light work, fits really well right here. The time commitment for each position is relatively different. Some positions, you'll be more active months before the event, some only just the day of the event, and others, you'll have a steady activity throughout the 5 or 6 month planning period. So it could be just a few hours each week or a few hours a month. Volunteer work is really up to you. Now, before I go into more details of each position, I would like to introduce Cindy Flynn, our Northern Virginia Walk of Hope Chair. Cindy, can you tell us why you chose to bring the Walk of Hope in your community and how you were able to create such a great committee of volunteers, and maybe a little bit about how you work with your committee?
Hi, thanks so much for having me tonight. I really wanted to bring the Walk of Hope to Northern California because I felt like it would be a great way to spread awareness within our local community and provide support. The walk is such an incredible experience. I knew it was going to be amazing, but nothing compares to the electric atmosphere at the day of the walk, the feeling of support, the community, and just the general buzz and excitement. It's just an incredible experience, and it's such an opportunity, and I'm so glad that it's going to be expanding to other areas. As far as creating a great group of volunteers, I'm really, really fortunate to be involved with the Resolve support groups in Northern California. We have a really strong network of support groups, and a good number of our volunteers come from those support groups. We also do call for volunteers on social media. We talk to other support groups that are not involved with Resolve that we might be involved in through the internet to see if there are other people who just haven't heard of Resolve yet that want to get involved, and through existing personal relationships. Sometimes we even get volunteers who aren't personally affected by infertility, but they know somebody who is and they just want to give back or be supportive to other people. So don't discount people just because they aren't currently going through an infertility journey themselves. They may end up being great volunteers who just want to be there for somebody they love. As far as working with our committees, each year I hold a kickoff meeting and talk to interested volunteers about what we have planned for that year, what our needs are, and what they can expect as a volunteer. This gives them an opportunity to ask questions or express concerns they may have. And a lot of times those concerns are around time commitment. And it's really important to let people know there's jobs for just about any time commitment that you're able to make. It could be from making a few phone calls, sending a couple emails, or just getting more involved in leading a committee and doing a lot. So don't let people be scared off by the idea that, oh, I don't have time to do this. There's always something for everyone. I try to stay in contact with people that drop away after that first meeting. It happens every year. You'll have a huge group that are interested, and maybe a third of them will just disappear. And that's okay. Those people will probably come back to you if you stay in contact with them. send them emails, just touching base, letting them know that, you know, if they still want to help, that you have a job that they can do. But mostly stay in contact with them for the event day. The more volunteers you have on the day of the walk, the smoother your walk's going to go. And if somebody isn't interested in the planning leading up, they're almost always interested in helping on the day of the walk. So encourage them to just jump back in for that day of. It usually consists for our group of one meeting the week prior to run through details and do job assignments, and then just showing up early on the day of the walk and helping until we're done. Sometimes they can only help with cleanup, and we'll take that, or sometimes they can only help with setup, and that's great too. So just encourage people to just get involved where they can. Our local support group hosts also pass out volunteer interest sheets at their monthly meetings, and they do this for a few months when we're getting started, just to see if people are interested or if new people have joined the group, maybe they didn't know about the walk. So that's a great way to encourage people to get involved. And then again, just reaching out on social media and asking for volunteers that way is a great way to get people involved and to work with committees. So that's kind of how we get started and work throughout the year. We also run a private Facebook group for our volunteers to kind of keep them in the loop on what's happening. We do monthly conference calls because a lot of people can't meet in person, or we're really spread out geographically. And then we keep up with email and share documents to keep track of where everybody's at with their tasks. So that's kind of a little synopsis of how our volunteer work goes here in Northern California. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you, Cindy. And I know that you and Angela talk a lot too outside of your individual communities and committees, asking each other for support and questions and just kind of comparing notes. So there is support in other walk committees as well as your own. So let's get into the individual positions. Community outreach. Community outreach volunteers will engage local businesses and professionals to participate in the Walk of Hope through paid sponsorships and in-kind donations. And they also engage sponsorships from family-building professionals such as fertility clinics and adoption agencies. This position will be active about 20 weeks out from the event. And leading into the event, I should say, as well. The next position is team development. Team development volunteers will work with confirmed sponsors to promote the event, field a team to walk in the event, and create a festive environment at their tent. You will also be asked to get the local community involved to support family and friends who are part of the infertility community. This position would be active throughout the development of the event. The more teams we have participating, the more people we can support. As part of the team development and team engagement, we need corporate teams to participate, not just as sponsors with their sponsorships, but also by fielding teams. Having clinics be a part of our walks with their teams help create a great atmosphere at the walk. Team engagement. Once our teams start registering, we need the team engagement volunteers to work with all the registered team captains to keep them engaged through emails, recognition throughout the events leading up to the event. They monitor, encourage individual and team fundraising, and they are our motivators, our cheerleaders, the ones that keep the momentum going leading up to and including the day of the walk. We want to create an atmosphere of support by acknowledging the stories of why they became team captains. Our team captains are the people with the stories to share. They want to be a part of Resolve and our Walk of Hope to be inspired and to inspire others to make a difference in the lives of people with infertility. Marketing and public awareness. Marketing and promotions volunteers help promote the event to the public through media partnerships. A local celebrity, perhaps, a local public figure to serve as a master of ceremonies or MC. These volunteers would write press releases using templates provided and post on social media and community calendar listings. This will be pretty active throughout the season. Here are a few examples of what some of our volunteers were able to do to promote their events. The San Francisco Chronicle, Arizona Foothills, Tampa Bay Channel 10, I believe that was, Angelica actually, and also in the middle section here you have Gina Wilson, who was promoting the Northern California Walk of Hope as well. And logistics. Logistics for an event are vital to make the event run very smooth. All the planning can be completed prior to the day of, but execution of the event is extremely important for everyone to have a great experience, be recognized for their achievements, and to feel the support they need and they came for. It's mapping out the course, setting up signs, finding activities, and volunteers for the event. Advocacy is a new position, but a very important one. We want to promote state and federal legislative priorities that affect our community through education and awareness within the activities during the day of the walk. Well, this concludes our committee positions, but this isn't all we do. As the Walk of Hope Committee, we touch people's lives by raising funds, awareness, and supporting the infertility community. It's more than just planning an event. It's connecting the community and leading that community. Our walk leaders are the voice in local communities to give hope to anyone with infertility, and they are the voice to legislators to make all family building options available to everyone. So, if you are interested in volunteering for one of our committees, please visit resolve.org/walk-form, that's capital W and a capital F, form, and filling out one of our volunteer walk applications. And if you would, please submit it by December 15th because our walk committees are forming now. Now is the time where we open up for questions. Again, if you would, please type in your questions in the chat box.
Hi, Chris. This is Barb. And
Hi.
Betsy, I think it's you, or if you could go ahead and mute yourself, or the other speakers that are on, because we're still getting some feedback. That would be great. Appreciated. And we do have a couple of questions, Chris. One of the first questions was regarding Angelica Nassar and where she started the Walk of Hope, and that was in Houston, Texas. And the Walk of Hope started there, and it's now the Texas Walk of Hope, but it's been held in Houston for the first 2 years. Chris, I wonder if you could, and you touched on this at the beginning of the call, but we have had a couple of questions. So maybe if you wouldn't mind going back to maybe that map, if you could go
Sure.
backspace and go back to the map. And if you could just talk about if somebody is interested in starting a walk, two things or three things. If they're interested in participating in a walk in one of those orange locations, let's start with that question. So are these locations confirmed for sure we're going to have walks? And could you just answer that, and then I'll go on to the next question that came in about locations.
While we ideally would like to have them in certain cities, we cannot do these without feet on the ground. We need committees. We need volunteers to be a part of the Walk of Hope. That's how they were created. That's how they are formed, and that's how they are put up. That's how they are put together. So we need volunteers in those locations. But if I don't have enough volunteers from those specific, say, areas of Denver, Colorado, if I do have a lot of volunteers that are willing to bring it to another portion or another part in Colorado, we will certainly consider other areas. We just need our volunteers to come forward and let us know.
Great. The next question is the locations where we have current walks. Are we in need of volunteers for those, and would they fill out that same volunteer application?
Yes, if they could. That way we could provide the current volunteers with all of the volunteer information. And we are always looking for volunteers in all of those locations, so absolutely.
And then my last question has to do with places that aren't on here, and there's been a couple questions about that. So if I live or somebody on this call lives in a city that's not either a current walk or one of these orange states, but they want to do a walk in their area, what should they do?
They should hold tight because we are currently coming up with a program that will allow everyone to bring a Walk of Hope into their community. We are currently, as I said, working on the program. It will be pushed out at the beginning of 2015.
And then more questions are coming in.
Sure.
Do we have dates for the new locations, these places in orange? Have dates been secured for those walks?
We don't have actual confirmed dates for those locations. As I said, we are still looking for specific locations based on our volunteer support. So once we get our volunteers together, then we can start looking at specific locations and set a date based off of the availability of those locations of where we'd like to hold the walk.
Somebody did ask if they could volunteer in more than one location, and the answer is yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
I don't think
yes.
we need to. And I think the question, there's been a few questions about this New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area. And maybe you could just answer a few specific questions about that. Are you looking at having several walks in those locations? Are you looking for one walk? Can you tell us why that's there? And by the way, the state of Philadelphia or state of Pennsylvania is also highlighted, which is a little confusing. I think what you meant to just highlight here is New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and not the state of Pennsylvania. But regarding New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, what is the thinking in terms of a location, and how does that work?
Right. Being that tri-state area is very transient in people traveling to, most people will come into New Jersey or New York. We are probably looking at the New York, New Jersey area for a walk, but again, until we build our volunteer committee, we won't know for sure exactly which area it would be in, but I am leaning into the New York, New Jersey area.
So just for those listening in, the exact location, what park, for example, and what the walk route will be, those have not been decided. So
Correct.
We will take advice and counsel from the volunteers on the ground and obviously look at where other organizations have had successful events and make sure that the location meets our criteria as Chris went through it with the 1 mile place for activities, having it be pet friendly, etc. We also want to be sure it's easily accessible for people to get to, driving and public transportation and so on. So those are all things. So again, no specific parks or locations have been secured and no dates have been finalized. There's lots of questions coming through for any of the new locations. We're going to be doing all of that in collaboration with the volunteers.
Right, and we'll,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, we were also, once we get people of interest in those specific areas, we will hold another conference call with those individual locations to hear from everybody and get that committee developed and things. So we'll have lots more conference calls coming up.
So once somebody does fill out that application and the URL again, maybe we could go to the end of the slide deck again and put up the walk form. Perfect. Go back one. Whoops. Right here. So it's resolve.org/walk form. And let's leave that up there for a minute and everyone can put that down. Once we get all of those applications and we kick off another conference call, is there a process on how people will find out what position they are and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we will. We'll contact them, and we will let them know. We will gather together as a committee, and once we gather all the applications and go through them, then we will let everyone know by the end of, I would say, the end of the year, beginning of January, to reach out to them and let them know what position they were interested in, and what positions we have available, and what they would like to be doing as part of the committee.
Awesome. And then here's a question that I can answer. It says, how are funds raised for the walk? So funds come in really two main ways. One is through sponsorships. And so any company, whether it be a local business or an adoption agency or an attorney or any kind of company that's affiliated with the infertility community, or just a general business in the community, can sponsor the Walk of Hope. We have a whole list of different sponsorship levels and what those sponsors receive for their sponsorship. But the main way that we receive funds, or how funds are raised, is through individuals. And so people will go on the Walk of Hope website, they'll create a team, or they'll just register themselves, and then they can actually create a fundraising page, and then they would then ask their friends and family to, in essence, support their team or support them in the walk by donating to Resolve. And that might be $10 or $25 or $100 or $500, whatever people want to give. So individuals will register and set a fundraising goal, and then they will, again, through their friends and family, and using the online system that Resolve has. And by the way, we have a very robust software product that's used by charities all over the country. They will raise funds. And a great way to do it, as Chris has talked about, is creating teams. We've seen clinics do this, where they've created very large teams, and all of their patients are on their teams, to just individuals creating all sorts of teams. And once you form those teams, it's an additional way for you to raise money, because people on your team are also raising funds. When you go online, this is an online form. I believe that it is automatically, once you fill it out, it's automatically sent to Resolve. Is that correct, Chris?
I had asked for it to be either emailed or faxed in.
Okay, and that information is on?
It's on the actual form on the website.
Perfect. Okay, I'm just seeing if we have any other questions. And in terms of when you fill out that application, you can choose as many different positions as you want. If you really are open to whatever the need is, then write that down. If you have a specific position that you just have a lot of expertise, maybe in marketing communications, or you love fundraising and motivating others, but if you really don't know, or you really be happy doing anything, I'm sure, Chris, it's okay if they put that on there, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great, great. Let's see, going through, I think we've had a lot of questions coming in. I think that is all the questions that I have that are coming through, Chris. So if you want to just close this out, and then I'll just close out the call.
Sure. Well, I want to thank all of our volunteer presenters for being a part of our event this evening. I want to thank Angela Nassar and Cindy Flynn. I want to thank our staff, Barb, Betsy, and Marnie, for helping me with this presentation. And to all of our participants, thank you for joining us this evening.
And I, too, want to thank Angelica and Cindy and all of the volunteers who've worked on our walks this past couple of years. They've been amazing events. I've had the pleasure of attending several of our walks, and it's just the greatest feeling to show up and see literally hundreds and hundreds of people out really joining this community, connecting with others, doing all they can to raise awareness about the cause of infertility. And it's been such a fantastic program for our community. And I'm looking forward to our expansion into many of these new locations and even more locations as we roll out new programs for the Walk of Hope next year. So I look forward to having another fantastic year of Walks of Hope with all of you participating and helping really elevate this program to the next level. Thank you again, everyone, and we'll be recording this and it'll be ready for download. And we hope that all of you join and participate in Resolve's Walk of Hope. Thank you and have a great night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.